said when you came into that room, you had executives present.
Leadership is in all aspects of our lives. It's how we think. It's how we operate.
So be that leader that you want to have. Learning is not only through books, right? Through experience. But if you are not evaluating situations, as I say, I'm here to empower and inspire. If you can't lead yourself, you cannot lead anybody's company.
Just in the room, we're just making conversation. We're having casual conversation, but it doesn't sound like that's networking with a purpose.
Do not wait for things to happen to you. You need to be the CEO of your own career.
Ready to shatter the status quo and unleash your leadership potential? Sick of the same old tired leadership advice? Well, get ready to disrupt your thinking and transform your leadership skills. Welcome to Sound Leadership with DJ, the podcast that's about to challenge everything you thought you knew about leadership. Join DJ as he dives into the trenches with industry trailblazers, exploring the real issues leaders face today. From innovative strategies to proven techniques, we'll uncover the secrets to taking your leadership from good to great. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and equipped to conquer new heights. Join the movement and let's redefine leadership together. This is Sound Leadership with DJ. Leadership redefined.
We are back with another fantastic episode of Sound Leadership with DJ. If you don't know, this is the podcast dedicated to exploring the essence of leadership. Here, we're all about connecting you with visionary thinkers and trailblazers who have reshaped the landscape of leadership. Every episode is filled with a new adventure. See, I love walking side by side with leaders who have accomplished remarkable success. I want to walk down their journey and discuss their humble beginnings and what it took to get to the greatness that they are today. So today, we're going to uncover the challenges that Dr. Sophia has faced and learn from the wisdom she's collected along the way. Dr. Sophia is the CEO of Strategic Informatics Solutions. Let me say that again. Dr. Sophia is the CEO of Strategic Informatics Solutions. Dr. Sophia brings a wealth of experience and insights into leadership, change management, career transformation, informatics, and technology implementation. She has an extensive background in various leadership roles, from informatics technology manager, and of course, as being the CEO. Dr. Brown, or Dr. Sophia, she wants to be called, has held leadership positions in hospitals and long-term care facilities. And she's a fellow of the American College of Healthcare Executives and serves as a co-chair of clinical leadership committees. In academia, she chairs dissertation committees for several doctoral students and leads health promotion and awareness initiatives annually at her faith-based organization. Dr. Sophia helps organizations integrate and adapt information technology and informatics at all levels through her business. So I want you to sit down with me as we talk candid with Dr. Sophia and other CEOs, entrepreneurs, and community influencers just like Dr. Sophia, as they share their stories, strategies, and pivotal moments defining their leadership journey. So whether you're an aspiring leader looking to get into leadership, or you're an experienced leader looking to sharpen your leadership skills, Sound Leadership with DJ promises to have enriching content tailored for you. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't say I'd love for you to like, subscribe, and follow us on our social media platforms. That's Sound Leadership with DJ on YouTube and Sound Leadership with DJ on LinkedIn. You can also find us on your favorite podcast platforms. That includes Apple Music, Alexa, iHeart, and so much more. Simply search Sound Leadership with DJ and hit that subscribe button. Now, it's time for you to be prepared to be inspired, empowered, and motivated during this exceptional podcast with Dr. Sophia. Welcome, Dr. Sophia.
Thank you so much for having me, DJ. It's a pleasure to be here.
Listen, it's a pleasure to have you on this podcast. I am so grateful that you've taken time out of your day, running your company, doing all the things that you're doing, chairing dissertations and all of that great stuff, just to speak with me. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So I always give an introduction, and I do my best, but it never fully explains who the person is I have on a podcast. So, Dr. Sophia, can you tell us who you truly are?
Oh boy, how much time do we have?
I got all day for
so,
you.
so I just is placed in this world to inspire and empower people to make the world a better place. I've been a registered nurse for 30 years. And that's been from I'm a child, right? When I graduated nursing school, I was not 20 yet. And even though I'm in the service industry, it was never about me. Anyone listening to this podcast, if you're a clinician, any at all, you're here to save suffering humanity. You want that patient side. But then as I grew up in the system, growing into adulthood and giving service, I realized that one person cannot change practice. One person cannot change bad outcomes. It takes a village to raise a child. I remember when I was doing my PhD way back in 2012, I finished in 2012, I had that as my vision motivation statement, and it's in my dissertation today. It takes a village because leaders, good leaders beget leaders. If you're a good leader and you're not pouring into others, you're not building up each other, you're not building your team, and you're not having a follower, I'm sorry, you're not a leader. So with that in mind,
I was going to say, is that called a dictator? Because, some people think they leaders and they just running the show, but they don't have the followers. People do what they tell them to do because they are scared of the reactions and the consequences. But are they truly leaders? And I think that's what you're calling out.
Correct. And it's interesting because in my path of being my lifelong learner, you have different leadership styles, right? Leadership models. So I would say that's the autocratic kind of leader. But if you look at history, have they been successful? If you think about engaging people, helping people be developing other people, be very self-actualized, they may get a task done, but are they really making an impact that is lasting and enduring? So yeah, I believe a true leader is somebody who, not by title necessary, right? Because some people think, oh, you got to be a VP or a CEO or a director to be a leader. But leadership is not a title. Some people think you're born, you have this charismatic personality, and because you're not born with that trait, you cannot be a leader. That is not true. All of us have that leadership within us. We just need to harvest it.
I love what you said, because that's the premise of sound leadership. I've had so many different people come on this podcast in different stages of their career, and we talk about leadership. Leadership is not defined, as you've stated, by a title, but many think it's defined by a title. They think once I get that director role, that manager role, that supervisor role, I'm going to be in charge and people will follow and they have to do what they have to say. And I must say, at a young, ripe 19 years of age, when they gave me a whistle and a belt, I thought I was a leader because they gave me a whistle and a belt. And I had to learn very quickly that just because I had a whistle, that doesn't mean people are going to follow me. That just means I had a whistle. And just because people were doing what I was saying didn't mean they liked or respected me. And I think that when we talk about leadership, right, there's so many components to it. And you've already talked about some of them, but there's so many components of leadership. There's no one right style of leadership. I think it's based, I like to say, situational. Because for me, I'm a situational leader. I used to say all the time, I'm a servant leader, transformational leader. I'm a servant leader because everyone needs a different style of leaderships at different points in their lives and careers. How I lead one person is not how I'm going to lead Sally Smith. And just because I led Sally Smith that way today, she was going through a divorce. But tomorrow she's back on square, and she don't need me to be hands-on and kind of all in her face and doing all that. She's one that I can just let go out there, and then she's going to come to me with solutions to problems. So I need to be flexible. I need to be malleable. And I think that's what you were saying.
Correct. It's interesting that you made that analogy because two things. This COVID-19 pandemic has
Yes.
taught us just how it's important to be a situational leader.
Yes.
Yes, we talk about the transformation, we talk about the transactional, and all those are necessary. There is a place for everything. But with things like this pandemic that occurred, you have to be a situational leader because it's based on that current situation. You're meeting that need, or you're helping your staff, you're helping your team to go into that direction that is safer, that is less risk, and that is more empowering for them. And there we have to give voice to the voiceless, right?
Yes.
I mean, just before the pandemic, actually, I did a research because I am an informatician and I'm a scientist at heart. And
Hold on. You're not going to just gloss over that. There's people who can't see the initials behind her name. I called her doctor, but let me give her the respect. She is a PhD. So you are a PhD. What is PhD? What is your PhD in? And then you said you're a nurse scientist. Talk to us about that because that's
okay,
huge.
okay. So I'll tell you how I get there. So my PhD is in decision support sciences. When I did my PhD, there was not an informatics degree.
Woo!
And I did my master's in informatics and I wanted to, level it out. A matter of fact, let me share a little bit of this. So, how I got into informatics was from a personal story. When I was a kid, I was a teenager yet. I had anaphylactic shock from penicillin. And then from that, I'm like, I needed a better way how to not get that injection again, right? I went into healthcare. Where I went into healthcare, of course, it was paper-based system. Remember, we're talking about early 90s, right? So paper-based system. So the concept of computers in at the bedside doing documentation was not something conceivable, especially because I was in a third world country. And when I relocated here to the United States, I wanted to do my master's. So I pursued my master's in informatics because my bachelor's is actually in computer studies. That's another story. So when I did my master's, I'm type A, if you didn't figure it out as yet. Because I believe if you want something, you go for it, you put out the effort. It's not going to come easy, but if you endure, you will achieve. So I got my only B's in my research one and my research two. I got B for research one and I got B plus for research two. I was not very happy. So I wanted to master this thing that was getting my lowest grade. B is not bad, but me being my type A self wanted to do better. And it's natural. I did research. But you know what? I think I kind of stumbled into it because a colleague of mine, she signed up and she was doing her EDD. That's her doctorate in education. And she said, Sophia, you know all these computer stuff. She was doing an online program. Can you help me? And then
Mm.
I was helping her. And then I realized, oh, I know how to do this. Oh, this is not that hard after all. And I'm going to put a little nugget here because I'm not sure who is going to see this. It may be a young person. It may be a person who is going through career transition and is
Mm-hmm.
wondering, am I capable? Is this for me? I don't see anybody in my house with this. Or, oh, I'm a woman, or it's only 3% of a doctoral degree. I can't get it. Put your mind to it. It's there for everyone. Commit to yourself, do the work, and you will achieve.
That is fire. It's amazing because you said do the work and you achieve, and you obtained a PhD in something, and before it was something, right? And before it was called informatics, and you, as I'm hearing you speak, and I know your background because I've done the research. Definitely humble in it, right? You have just PhD behind your name, but we're talking about multiple degrees on multiple levels. You're a fellow. You're a nurse scientist. Let me just break the third wall, as they say. You're an African American female, PhD nurse scientist. Kudos to you. I'm positive that you getting here was not easy. You just mentioned you came from another country. How was that migration over here until how was that migration over here and you landing into healthcare? Talk to us about that. I'm just in awe knowing your background.
Oh, wow. Let me go back in time. Now that's 20 years ago. But I must
Just
say,
yesterday.
just yesterday, but I must say it was a family reason why I came here. And when I came here, I was like, oh, I'm just going to come for a couple months. I was going to go back home. And then at the time, I'm a nurse. I was always doing nursing. Even when I started doing my full-time business role in my other country in Jamaica, where I was born, I was doing nursing in the evening time or on the weekend.
Wow.
So I've never left nursing. So once a nurse, always a nurse. You're a nurse at heart. Even now, I'm not at the bedside for the last 20 years. But whenever I'm doing any interviews, whether it's for a project I'm going into, or even the way I talk to my colleagues or my students, it's always workflow based. It's always that nursing process. You have to assess, you have to evaluate. You don't just implement something. You have to make sure it's grounded in something. So with that being said, I've always had this mindset. And it's interesting because when I came, I went to the ICU. I was an ICU nurse because that was the only area of nursing that I did not have orientation in, that I did not work in. And it was rough. At that time, there were only 2 African American in the ICU.
Wow.
ICU, where I was in the New York area, is this very elite specialty.
Yes.
And only special persons could get into it. Now, I'm an immigrant. I was at the hospital for only 2 months when they had the ICU training. And it was almost a rebellion because, normally you have to do a year before you can get into that special program. But they were like, but she's a nurse for over 6 years already. So, yes, she has the experience. And then even after doing that, then it was like, I was getting all A's. I'm type A. So like my rhythm reading, my heart rate, I was acing those. And whenever it was a multi-trauma ICU. So the location we were is right by a highway. So you heard about the gunshot wounds, the stab wounds, the motor vehicle accident. We had it all. But one thing I did not do is back down. I was volunteer for all the hard cases.
You know, what's interesting, as I hear you speak, the essence of leadership oozes out of you. Because what does leaders do? We run into those burning buildings. We don't back down. We say yes when others are saying no. How did you hone your leadership skills? You have, once again, a PhD. You're a fellow. You're from Jamaica. You're immigrated over here. You're a certified project manager. All the other things, the other acronyms that, if you can't see the screen, it didn't fit on the screen. So she just landed with PhD. So how did you hone in your leadership skills?
You know what? It came because I just want to make a difference. And I realized that if you're not speaking up, if you're not asking the hard questions, if you're not at the top, whether it's physical or virtual, you cannot make a difference. If you're just taking orders without understanding the context in which it's given and the reason behind it, you really can just make very small impact. Well, I was not placed on this world to make small impact. I was placed on this world for a purpose of making a difference. I choose to do that through my work in healthcare. And I know that could be my mother, that could be my sister, that could be a sibling on that bed. Who is the advocate for them? Who is being that voice for them? So because of that, I just have this real big passion to be that voice. We just have to be the voice.
Wow. I think that's amazing. And you talk about being that voice and being, to me, a beacon of hope for others, being a beacon of hope for the voiceless. For someone who's wanting to enter leadership, how can they do that? What strategies do you have to ensure, or would you suggest to them so they can enter leadership and enter leadership gracefully?
Just show up. No, because you know what? How people are not, unless you have a mentor. Well, I was at a webinar yesterday, a panel discussion, and it was so inspirational. It was an ACHE sponsored women event.
Yes.
And we had it was for the diversity, equity, and inclusion group. And there were these young people on the panel, young, I call 40s young. So we had 40s, 30s, and these ladies, it was an all female, it was a female panel, and it was resounding. I was inspired because the question, the feedback I got from that is, one, you got to show up. Two, you got to make a plan for your career. Don't wait for things to just happen to you. Make a plan, make a career roadmap. Where do you see yourself? And then work that roadmap. Gone are the days when people will just naturally look for you and like, oh, yeah, this is a good person to put in this position. Those days don't happen as frequent, especially for certain groups. Certain groups are more fortunate, but I wasn't that fortunate. So I show up, I volunteered, I ask questions, I read a lot. I found mentors. Well, mentor is something that I learned later in my career. I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know I should be networking with a purpose. I didn't know that I should be reaching out to these people. Even though I have a number of followers on LinkedIn, they were just my fan club. Some of them would like what I talk about. But then now I'm like, oh, let's have an introductory conversation. And it's just a conversation. Because you never know who is in the room.
Hey, did you hit that like button yet? That subscribe button yet? Well, if you didn't hit it, that's how I get views. I need the views. Sound Leadership with DJ invites you to like and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. If you haven't, hit that bell, hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified of every single episode that we host here on Sound Leadership with DJ. Have you done it yet? All right. Now back to this episode. You know what? You're dropping so many nuggets. And before I dive into the nuggets, please know, if you can't see the screen, I've adjusted her credentials. We put the PhD, the DBA, the fascia. I can't even pronounce the next one, in the PMP up on the screen. The nugget that you dropped is networking with a purpose. What does that mean? Because when we network, we're just talking to people, right? We're just in a room. We're just making conversation. We're having casual conversation, but it doesn't sound like that's networking with a purpose. So what does that mean?
So this is what I tell my coaching clients. Whenever they're going to any event, for one, they're going to choose the events that they're going to. If it's a social event or even a formal event, they're going with a list of questions. I tell my client, let's talk about the questions you're going to ask. Let's be targeted. Okay, if you're a director, all right, you need a few directors in your coffers, but I want you to be looking for those CEOs. I want you to be going for those VPs. Where do you see yourself? Do not just stick where you are and expect that the same circle is going to be able to elevate you. So that's one thing. Even for those who are going back to school, there's one thing in healthcare, because most organizations in this part of the world do provide tuition reimbursement. And many clinicians do go back to school, but they don't have a purpose. They're just doing it. My thing is, all your assignments should be around your vision.
Yes.
If you want to be okay, you're doing your PhD, and you say, okay, my next role is going to be in public health. Don't be coming to me with any research project that is not public health. How is that getting you to your purpose? You're wasting your time. It is not just an academic procedure. It is a tool you're using in your career to go to your next level. So use it. This is a perfect opportunity when you have these mentors. You have your teachers. You're paying for it. You have the librarian to help you search for good strategies. You have these students in your class to bounce things by. You already have these resources. But if you're not intentional, they will pass you by. Many of us will say, oh, let me finish this PhD first, or this DNP, or this master's first before I start looking for a job in that area. No.
Listen,
You need to start looking before you even choose. How do you know that you want to do it? Leave that to the high school folks. And even them I'm trying to get to ahead of time. Because I need to teach them that you don't need to do trial and error. It's too costly.
you know what? You
Go
said
ahead.
something. You said you need to live your purpose. You need to live your purpose. And what I gathered out of that, or how I interpret it, is how I tell people, you need to dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So if you are going to be a CEO, then you need to start dressing like it. You need to get into those rooms, those meetings, and interact with those people. When I tell people about my journey, and it's no secret, right? I am from Detroit, Michigan. If you followed my journey, you're new to this channel, I am Demetrius, the host of Sound Leadership with DJ. I graduated high school with a 1 GPA. In eighth grade, my eighth grade teacher told me I would be dead or in somebody's penitentiary by the time I was 18. Had I listened to her, I'd be dead or in somebody's penitentiary by the time I'm 18. I'm here to tell you, 2 masters later, MBA and MSc, and 5 classes away from a doctoral degree, that I am dressing for the part. I am engaging with people such as Dr. Sophia with a PhD, such as Danielle, Dr. Danielle, DMPs of color. You know, these people. Those is what I aspire to be. So I have to start networking with those people.
Yes.
You're not changing up. I think that's what somebody say. You know, they think, especially me, I'm from Detroit, right? When I moved out of Detroit to a suburb, they say, "Oh, you forget where you come from." No, but I didn't go to school to sit in the same area. I'm just gonna say honest. I'm going to school. I'm advancing my knowledge to grow, both personally and professionally. So to what you're saying, right? If you're helping somebody or you're talking to somebody and they're going on a conference, talk to the people, network with a purpose. And I take it a step farther as an executive coach as well. When I meet with somebody, it needs to be strategic. I already got a QR code on my phone. So when we meet, scan this code, add me to your LinkedIn. Here's my QR business code. We don't even need to give out paper business cards anymore. Let me help you right away. I gave you the QR code. So now you don't even have to find me on LinkedIn. You don't need to search. You just take a picture of it. It takes you right to my LinkedIn. You hit that subscribe button, follow the podcast, follow the blog. Shameless plug. But you do all that in one, and that's networking with a purpose. Now, you, as I mentioned earlier, have not one doctoral degree, but 2. You literally have a doctoral degree in business administration.
I do.
Tell me
And
about
that
that.
was purpose driven.
Tell me
That was
about that.
purpose driven. So, yes, I have my PhD and I love research. But research doesn't pay that much. It's a lot of work. I still have a passion for it. I
Yeah.
still want to build new researchers. I still do these grant funding. I still do my RRB reviews. But then as I started thinking about, being in informatics, a little different niche, right? I guess
Yeah.
if I was doing education, I would be like, okay, that's my life. But I wanted to make a difference through informatics. And as I started thinking about, okay, I'm thinking about Maslow hierarchy of needs, and I'm like, where next do I see myself? And it was, do I want to be a VP in somebody's organization or do a CEO in my own organization? Do I want to contribute to the vision or make the vision? And I'm like, I want to make, lead, and implement the vision. So I'm like, listen, I am starting this company. But before I got there, I was like, I want to make sure I know what I need to know to get started. Knowledge is powerful, but knowledge that is locked up in a book is dormant. You can't benefit from that. So that is why I did my DBA, because I did my DBA because I want to understand the business landscape. I know healthcare from a nursing perspective. Don't ask me about any of those procedures. Ask me whether from OR to ER to ICU to PEDS to I know it all. So tell me about my patient. I know it. What I didn't know is healthcare as a business.
And boy, is it ever a business.
Or is it? Well, that. So with that being said, I'm like, you know what? Let me do this DBA. Of course, all these credentials, they're costly, but I do them with a purpose. You have to invest in yourself.
For the people in the back, can you repeat that? Because we got some people in the back that want to get hired for the job, but they ain't got the bare minimum qualifications. Repeat that for them.
You must invest in yourself. And one of the nuggets that came back last night for these young ladies who I'm raving about, they mentioned coaching, sponsorship, but she's a shaker and breaker that is happening in Hackensack here right now. And she said until she invested in a coach, she was not moving. She had mentors, but she really needed that plan of action and somebody to support her through it. So I'm doing a plug here because many persons, that money is too much. Is your life worth it? Is your vision worth it?
I tell people all the time, if you don't invest in yourself, how can you ask someone else to invest in you? If you don't funnel money towards your own dream, I started a business, but it's too much. So how can you convince somebody else to put money into it if you don't believe in it enough? Because if you believed in it enough, you put your whole savings in it to make it work because you know it's going to work. So if there's any doubt, how are you? So, I work with people all over who are trying to start a business, and it's always my go-to. You got to have some basics, right? And I've ran them down in one of my other podcasts and one of my blogs. You got to have a website. You got to get a LLC. Like, you got to start somewhere. Like, you can't say I'm doing a business and you don't have even a Facebook. People say, website's too expensive. Well, Facebook's free. LinkedIn free. TikTok, Instagram's free. You talking to me right now, I see you. So you got a phone in your hand. You can record a video and you can get that out there. But I think that's the difference, though. When we talk about leaderships, because people think about leaders at large organization, leadership is in all aspects of our lives. It's how we think. It's how we operate, right? That's leadership. And sometimes it's okay. We need to lean on other leaders, like you mentioned, other coaches who can coach us. We don't know it all as leaders. I have people that I go to, mentor, coach, whatever the case, because I don't know it all. And I want to make sure I'm at the top of my game. And there's no way for me to maintain at the top of my game if I'm not going to these conferences, going to these events, and being open to receiving constructive feedback.
Perfect. I couldn't have said it better. It's interesting because when I started my business, now going almost 3 years ago, I was doing, I do a lot of informatics work because I'm very passionate about doing that forever. But this young lady, I was running a panel, and this young lady came up to me and she said, I got to take a picture with you and we need to exchange numbers. And I exchanged numbers with her. And she became my first formal paying career coaching participant. I was giving away this for free. And she said, I have to work with you. What is your cost? She said, when you came into that room, you had executive presence. She said, I didn't have to wonder. You made a mark. You came in, you command the room. And this was something that was done subconsciously. I wasn't even aware of that. But I believe when I'm a tall girl, and I believe I'm not going to try to be small for anyone. I'm coming in, and I'm coming in with a question. I'm coming in with a voice. I'm coming in with a presence. Because guess what? I belong here, just like you. But when you sit and you try to minimize and just don't show up as your full self, who's going to trust you? Who's going to believe in you? You look timid. You look as if you do not believe in yourself. I can't believe in you. So be that leader that you want to have. Because all of us, whether or not you see yourself as a leader, think about some leaders that you have had experience with. I remember my days of understanding leadership, which I didn't even know that's what I was doing. I look in every one of my bosses and I'm like, okay, these are the qualities I want to be like. These are the ones I know I will never be. And that was me learning. Because learning is not only through books, right? Through experience. But if you are not evaluating situations, how can you learn? If you're just taking it in and just doing, just regurgitating, you're not growing. So it's an opportunity to grow.
You can drop so many nuggets on this podcast. They're gonna have to go back and listen to this a second time after they hit that subscribe button. What's what you talked about is growing, and I go back to something I said earlier. You have to be willing to have constructive feedback. You can't sit in the room and say, I know it all. Because those leaders who sit in the room and say they know it all, they are doomed. You should not be working for them because no one knows it all. But you talked about this lady who came into it, took a picture with you, and you talked about, dealing with people who are timid. I spoke early on an earlier podcast earlier in the season about imposter syndrome. That is real. Imposter syndrome is real. Have you ever dealt with imposter syndrome? Here it is, a lady with all these initials. Have you ever dealt with that?
Let me tell you. Well, last night, I end up with 3 people, and we're going to start a study on imposter syndrome. 3 people.
Hey.
One is a PhD like myself. One is a DNP, and then me. Because it came up on the panel.
Storybox Audio.
It came up on the panel, and we're looking, and these persons were really pouring into us, sharing some life stories of what they have been through. And someone mentioned imposter syndrome, and one of the young ladies, she has her PhD, and she was like, oh yes, I know. And you saw like she was trying to, and yes. I'm like, let's do a study on this thing. Let's do a lit review on it. But your question is, have I experienced it? Yes. I'm going to be very vulnerable to the audience. I had imposter syndrome for years. For many years, you could not call me Dr. Sophia or Dr. Brown. I would shy away from it. I wouldn't take ownership for it. I would feel like I do not belong here. Wow. And then I went to a presentation from Google about 3-4 years ago. And it was about believing in yourself. And when I went to that presentation and these folks were talking about just you're here for more than just yourself. And if you believe in yourself that you are more than just what is external, you will show up as yourself, walk in your full purpose. That's when I started like, oh, so why am I shying away? You know what you know. You work for it. And guess what? Even if you do not have the answer for everything, that's okay. You research it. And you can be vulnerable. And that was a ha-ha moment for me. And then one book, I must share this book, and I share it with all my clients. What to Say When I Talk to Myself. That book, it's a PhD guy. I think his name is Shah. I think is his last name. But he's a PhD. But that book, What to Say When I Talk to Myself, changed my life. Because when you listen to where this imposter syndrome started, it started from childhood. It started from you being told, no. If you think about your little babies that are growing up and as they start crawling around, no, don't do that. No, don't do that. And you're used to hearing no. And as you grow a little more, you feel, oh, that means I'm bad. And you start attributing negative to that no. When I read that book, I'm like, the world is my oyster. I'm here.
Listen, I love your deep dive into imposter syndrome because everybody deals with it. I don't care what stage of life that you're in, everybody deals with it, and it leads to anxiety. It can lead to depression. It can lead to just failure to start because you are afraid of failing. And if you don't know by now, my acronym for failing, and I can't take credit of it, but a fail is just a first attempt in learning. You don't fail when you don't give up. You fail because you stopped. So if something didn't work right away, it's okay. It is your first attempt in learning. And as a leader, I failed. I'm sure you failed. I've made some decisions that, I didn't hit the mark with the KPIs. But we learned from it and we didn't make the same mistakes moving forward. So, I just like to thank you for coming on this podcast, sharing your words of encouragement. I mean, you were vulnerable at times. We talked about the different degrees that you have. One thing we didn't talk about, I don't want to bring us to an end, but that fascia. Talk to us about that, because that is seen as the highest, one of the highest credentials in our field. So how did you get that? Because that is the mark of a leader there. So talk to us about that.
So let me share this. So when I came across ACHE and I became a member of ACHE, so this was on my vision of wanting to understand the full healthcare ecosystem,
Yes.
not just nursing, not just IT. And I see this was the things that the administrators were into, the ones who were running the hospitals. Listen, I'm going to be at the table. I want to learn. I'm going in those rooms
Yes.
because, listen, if it's even to be a doorpost, I'm going to listen in until I get in the room. So I joined ACHE. And then when I joined ACHE, I thought I was not qualified to do the fascia. Although I've been a nurse all these years, I've been leading teams all these years, I thought I wasn't qualified. Why? You do not have that title.
Yeah.
Remember what I'm saying, leadership is not a title. So even being in this renowned organization and they have these qualification criteria that you must meet, I thought being a director, you had to have a title from the organization that you're a director. And I was introduced to a life fellow of ACHE. And I remember it was on Veterans Day I spoke to him, and that time he was a veteran. And after speaking with him, he said to me, "And why are you not a fasci?" I will do the recommendation because you need 2 references.
Okay.
And I said, "Oh, but I'm not a director yet." And he's like, "Why do you think you need to be a director?
Wow.
How long are you being in healthcare? How many teams have you run?" He's like, "Young lady, sign up for it." I signed up for it and I was qualified on the go.
Wow. Imposter syndrome. You thought, oh my God. You listen, you have enlightened us so much. And what's interesting is just your vast background. You have married clinical and business to make your own business. So talk to us about what it is that you do and the lane you've created for yourself.
So, what is it that I do? As I say, I'm here to empower and inspire. That is my motto. That is my why. And when I started on this journey, I had to dig deep to understand my why. It is Cynic, that author who wrote this book, Why. And I read his book. I'm an avid reader. I can't help myself. I have to learn at the feet of the greatest. So I'm going there and I'm going to learn and going to create my own path from it. And when I read that, I'm like, I had to think, what is my why? Because many persons die in organization, physical death, spiritual death, mental health issues, because they're just trying to go with the flow. They have not grounded themselves in their why. And then when I started thinking about my why, I'm like, I did my PhD because I want new knowledge. I want to be able to provide new knowledge, to create new knowledge. So I need an environment for that. I invest in informatics. I love implementation. I do a lot of work with HIMSS. That's the whole health IT group. And then I'm like, but I'm working in one organization at a time. I'm limited my influence, my scope, of my sphere of influence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how many people can I influence by them having more access to me? So having my business where I do consulting, informatics consulting, I do career coaching, both executive and career transition, and I do teaching and training. It's my way of helping a broader set of folks, because knowing that I'm not here for self-service.
Yes.
Organizations, there are a lot of politics in organization, and there's a place for it. But if politics is getting in the way of your goal of really caring for people, I create my path so I could limit that influence. There's a path for it, and there's some folks that is very aligned with that. But I
Yes.
think I have more reach. I'm able to spread my message. But it's all about resilience. That's being a situational leader. Now we're back.
So, Dr. Sophia, go ahead and plug your business. How can people reach you, find you, contact you, hire you, ask you to be their mentor, ask you to be their coach? How can they get in contact with you?
So first of all, you need to find me on LinkedIn. It's
Yeah.
Sophia Brown. You find me on LinkedIn because it's not even about the business per se as the nuggets of wisdom that has been shared. So first thing, you go to LinkedIn and you find Sophia Brown, Sophia F. Brown, and then you'll find me. The other thing is you can email me. My email address is Dr. Sophia at Strat, Strat, Informatics, Informamatic.com. I also have a website, www.strat, Strat, So these are the primary ways. There are other ways. I'm on Facebook as well, the same name, Strategic Informatics Solutions. So listen, I'm everywhere. If you need me, you can find me. You just search for my name and there I will be, because I'm here to provide service. I'm here to serve. I want to serve you. I want to help you. I do not want you to do the trial and error things. These millennials and Gen Z, they're going in organization. And we sit there and we like, oh, but this one now is a CEO. What did you do? You sat in your role for 15, 20 years without making that move. They are being movers and shakers. They are being intentional. And that is why they're getting these top positions. Now, if that's what you want, get your mentors, get your allies, but most of all, get your coach so you can cut down that trial and error. Hope that was helpful.
Yes, of course. You mentioned something, right? I am a millennial, and I remember sitting in front of one of my bosses, and I don't remember what job it was, but I got to the point, you go through multiple interviews, and it's like the final boss, right? So I'm sitting in front of the CEO, and they say, what's interesting is that you don't stay at a job long. And I was millennial. I was a lot more curt back in the day. I remember looking her dead in her eye, and I said, "Why is that a problem?" She said, "Well, you don't stay anywhere long." I said, "I said, I'm a break character." I literally said, "I'm a break character." I said, I am 26, 27 years old. Had I stayed in those jobs and followed your pathway, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you right now applying to be the CEO of this company. I'm applying because you saw my tenacity, you saw how I moved, you saw my resume, and you like what you see. I'm here to where I want to be. So everything I've done, I've laid that groundwork. I was purposeful, as you stated. I was purposeful to get to where I am now. So here I am, 26, 27, taking over my first nursing home position as a nursing home administrator, overseeing $25 million, right? So you have to be purposeful in what you're doing. And whether they reach out to you, they reach out to me, or anyone else, you have to get you someone that's going to be an accountability partner and who's going to say, hey, this is what we're doing. Because we all have yes men on our team, or women, yes men or women or dogs, whatever they identify. You all have it on your team, but you need someone that's not going to let you run into that wall. Yes. You need someone who's going to say, you know what, this is not the right path. This ain't it. This is not what you want. And that's what a coach, a mentor, whoever it is that you put in that position should be doing for you. If they're in that position and they're not telling you that you're hitting that wall, let them go. They're not there for you. They don't want to see you succeed. And let me tell you, baby, it ain't always going to be your friends. I have to tell you this because everybody ain't happy for your success. I've learned that. I'm still learning that to this day. They can be a friend, but they stay in that area. That don't mean they're happy for my success. Everybody's not clapping for you the same reason that you're clapping. They're not clapping with you. They're clapping at you. And that's what some things we have to learn. And when we move up the ranks of leadership, you have to learn that as well. Some things you're going to learn to kind of share and some things you're going to learn to keep to your chest. I'm going to be the first to tell you, if you haven't heard, it can get lonely at the top.
Oh, yes.
it can get pretty cold up there, right? Because now you're the figure, and now people are coming after you once you've achieved that. So everything that you did to get there, now that you're there, you got to look at it and from a whole different lens because you are there. You're now supervisor, you're overseeing, and oftentimes you're supervising and overseeing the same people that you were coming up with. So they know what you do and they know how you are. And now you're telling them they can't do X, Y, and Z. So, as you move up through the ranks, it's about being purposeful, as you mentioned earlier. We got to put that in the title, purposeful, right? Because if you know your job, if your end goal is to try to be CEO of this company, you need to come in, interview, and work like you're trying to be the CEO of that company. Because the people that you do the dirt with, they gonna remember.
Yes.
And they be the first ones to HR.
Yes. Yes. But that's something I wish I knew on the journey.
Yes.
I found that out very late. So I mentioned I'm an immigrant. And when I came to this country, all my life I felt like, okay, I gotta give 5 years before I move to my next job. I gotta be 5 years. And then what did 5 year bring me? I'm looking into 50 and you're like, okay, is this the highest you can do for your career?
Yep.
So I'm happy that you shared your experience being a young leader getting into the most advanced role, because this is a message for our young people out there. Do not wait for things to happen to you. You need to be the CEO of your own career. You are a CEO. If you can't lead yourself, if you can't lead your career, if you can't lead your professional path, you cannot lead anybody's company. So every single person out there, you should be having a vision board and you should be having a career roadmap. And based on that, then you go on a pathway. Don't sit and just wait for things to happen to you. Be the driver of your own career.
You know what? Something that you said, I think, resonates so deeply with me. And I hate we're coming to an end, is to treat yourself like a business. We're going to have to talk about that on another podcast. I started treating myself like a business at the age of 25. I realized if I'm not treating myself like a business, I'm doing myself a disservice. Treat yourself like a business, operate like a business. So what that means is when it's time to lay off people, you need to lay off people. You need to cut them out. Businesses don't think twice. When it's time to, unfortunately, we're going in a different direction. We get our feelings and emotions tied into people that are in our lives, and those people can bring us down and limit us from being the leader that we need to be. So, whole nother podcast. Thank you, Dr. Sophia, for coming on this podcast. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You know what? It's the reason I do this, right? Is to connect with people like Dr. Sophia, for people like Dr. Sophia to come onto this podcast and drop the nuggets that she shared. Boy, I am so honored to have Dr. Sophia. Her information will be in the bio. Reach out to her. She wants to form that connection with you and inspire you to be your best self. Who knows? You can be sitting right in this seat on Sound Leadership with DJ, and I could be interviewing you saying, hey, Dr. So-and-so, with 2 doctorate degrees behind your name. So thank you for embarking on this leadership exploration with us at Sound Leadership with DJ. Today's episode has been filled with a journey filled with insights, inspiration, and wisdom from Dr. Sophia. If today's conversation sparked a new ideal, inspired action, or simply left you wanting more, we invite you to connect with us. Explore more of our work by following us on YouTube and LinkedIn at Sound Leadership with DJ, where we share conversations just like this, and you see behind-the-scenes footage of episodes just like this. Don't let the journey stop there. We want you to subscribe to Sound Leadership with DJ by liking us on your favorite podcast platform. That includes Alexa, iHeart, Apple Music, and so much more. Simply search Sound Leadership with DJ, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Hey, as we part ways today, I want you to remember something. Leadership is a journey, not a destination. Keep striving to learn and grow and never give up on your goals. We're honored to be a part of your leadership voyage and eagerly anticipate welcoming you back for more enriching episodes of Sound Leadership with DJ. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and remember, within Sound Leadership with DJ, you're always in good company.
Thanks for tuning into Sound Leadership with DJ. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. Share your favorite takeaways with a friend or colleague. Leave a review and let us know what you think. And remember, leadership is not just a title, it's a choice. Choose to lead with purpose, passion, and impact. See you